The boy tried and tried, but again and again he tripped over his feet. He was exhausted. Midterms were getting the best of him. So it wasn't surprising when he couldn't get his ground and kept slipping. He tried to change the way he portrayed himself, but ended up falling into someone. The girl just wanted coffee. She had worked all night listening to lights flicker and patients cry, yet she never got to rest. Straight out of college, she tried and tried to make a living, and she assisted everyone but herself. And she had to suffer a small fright when a boy collided with her, spilling her coffee all over her white blouse. And he spilled apology after apology. He would not stop talking. And eventually, she walked away with a sigh. The boy sat there for what felt like days, when eventually a hand woke him up from his daze. "You seem a bit rough. Would this cheer you up?" the girl said, holding a small croissant. The boy nodded, which made his eyes turn into fireflies. He thanked her profusely, and as he started to speak, he asked about her favorite hobbies and movies. She responded so pleasantly, asking the same question back with enthusiasm. They spoke so fluidly, it seemed they had known each other longer than they actually had. In the end, they chatted for what seemed like hours, but the clock only portrayed minutes. Eventually, the boy had to run. The hour bell struck. The girl nodded her goodbyes and smiled as she looked down and away from the accident prone, not expecting to see the boy who ruined her white blouse again. Though it wouldn't be long enough until they met again. Months passed. The boy had a friend who helped him pull himself together, which allowed him to become more stable. He stopped dripping and started running. He put his thoughts together, yet was still clumsy. The girl had a colleague who allowed her to act more human. She was still exhausted, yet had time to become rested. Her schedule leveled out and her thoughts became fluid. Turns out their friends were more than just friends to each other. "Well, this is awkward," the girl had mocked. The boy nodded as they stared each other down. The double date was not supposed to go this way.
The title of my poem is Octor's Autopsy, the Author's Autopsy. The operation is easy, alarmingly simple. They lie me bare on an operating table, our fluorescent lights droning overhead, and smoothly slice a line from my neck to my pubis. The metal sends shivers down my spine, critiques flow off tongues as easy as a nucleation. Every time I listen to a peer's insight reminds me of how blind I truly am. A finger runs over the scar on my chin. Perhaps it was an inspiration for my tail? Like how the curtains in the morgue are blue. I wrote that detail because I enjoy the color of the sky. Under the cloth hides trauma. Not visible on my flesh, but let's take a look at the protagonist. Notice the haunting felt in his stomach while I starve under scrutiny. Ribs pierce his heart while mine aches too much. Cigarette burns on his forearm share shape with this birthmark stapled across my left eyebrow. I feel cold fingers probe my untouched pelvis. I didn't have a boyfriend, did I? Notice the lovebirds in my tails. His hands in her hair, her hands on his thigh, never kiss before the epilogue. A side effect of his trauma. Maybe his darkness is under my skin, too. This body didn't cave from natural causes. It was murder, but not a crime, as anyone who's read my work knows. Plot twists abound. Where's the weapon? Oh, of course. Reach deeper into my guts, pull out my spine, listen to the cracks of the bone, the snaps of my muscles contracting, the sharp tip of my tailbone. The pin of a pen bleeding out on paper is the proof they've all been looking for. The writer asked for it. I had it coming. Having someone look at your poems, your stories, your essays is worse than someone looking at your diary. In your diary, it's predictable. Crushes, sickness, your last math test, in fountain pen, locked, needs a key. You can rest easily at night, no one should ever read it. But cracking open a novel, digging into published prose open for the whole world to see is the equivalent of dissecting its writer. I am afraid of my creations. Some so much that I keep them in a notebook tucked away under my bed where no one will ever see it. Not even when I die. I will write in my will that will be burned alongside me, forgotten, gone. Good. If anyone ever saw it, would they still love me? Would my mother turn away? My characters, my plot, the quiet humor found between lines conflicts with the girl lying on the slab. Those words reveal how much I love, how much I cry, how much the pain doesn't go away after generations of lonely nights, of losing faith in the world. But at least I never lost faith in my writing, because at least the author in me keeps fighting to stay alive. I'm hardly the first. Every author knows the familiar sting of cold air filling cavities in their bodies. Some authors crave the pain. It keeps them alive. It pushes them to their limits for public entertainment. I'm one of them at times. But the prizes I've won, seeing the possibilities of my future, the thrive failures always start to bore through my back, so I keep putting my darkest thoughts on paper and hope they sell out before I do. Thank you.
I will be reading questions. What? What has the world become that children are forced to know? The pain of Prometheus, the burdens of Atlas. What happened to life that it became so cruel and cold? Colder than Boreas, crueler than Phobos. What happened to society that it shattered and broke? Not even Hephaestus nor Asclepius can fix what has been lost. What happened to people that they followed Nemesis in hatred and rage stronger than Hades? What happened to us that we craved the power of Kratos over the warmth of our homes that Hestia guards? What happened to these generations that Oasis took reign over us and not even Irene could bring us back? What happened to our children? What happened to our parents? What happened to society? What happened to the world? What happened that we are overcome by misery, overcome by rage, overcome by agony, overcome by our thoughts, by our words and our talents, overcome by everything that we were taught to trust? What has the world become that we are more than broken, that we are hurting each other, that we can't be united? What will happen to everyone born and living in this world of darkness and terror? What will happen?